Godzilla, the king of the monsters, the Incredible Hulk, the strongest one there is. Death Battle is covering these two incredible behemoths in a fight to the death soon enough. So who would win between these two radioactive monstrosities? Their full power will be on display, so let's not bother with weak versions or anti-feats, as frankly you could do the same for the other side too. And that's boring. What are the rules for this analysis? We will be taking composites for both characters. Godzilla has a lot more media than the Hulk does, as he's had his own series, appearances in other series as just crossovers, full-on story arcs, and tons of external media. While Hulk does have a lot of cartoons, movies, etc., let's be honest here, most of the big stuff is coming from his mainline comics run. I briefly touched up on, in a previous video, how absolutely disgusting composite Godzilla is, and the absolute nightmare to face that is Godzilla in Hell. Previous videos have also touched up on the powers of some versions of Godzilla, like Monsterverse, Showa, Heisei, etc. Though not everything quite. But since I'm not as knowledgeable about the Incredible Hulk or Marvel Comics in general, I brought in two experts who will be helping me discover who wins this fight. While Godzilla has a number of very powerful versions, Hulk really only gets one. So Godzilla does have an inherent advantage over not just having one line of scaling. Also, it should be noteworthy that Godzilla is in the Marvel Comics too, and the current run cements that he hasn't really been power clipped at all, despite appearing in early comics. As firmly established in the video with Godzilla in Hell, there are several versions of the Monster King who are solidly within the tier of strength called Outerversal. Since I went into a lot more detail in that video, I won't be doing the same here. But for even more consistency, even from the very early days of the Showa era, Godzilla was likened to the beasts of the Cthulhu mythos, and to the Buddhist concepts of good, evil, and punishment. There are also lore bits like the collective unconscious, as well as other such, metaphorical, spiritual, transcendent type things. I already touched up on it a little bit in the Heisei vs. Doomslayer video. While I wouldn't use this stuff for Heisei and Showa in particular by themselves, as it's a little bit less consistent, it just adds on to Composite Godzilla being an absolute behemoth, especially since Marvel Godzilla 2025 is indeed confirmed to be Showa Godzilla still, according to both Toho and Marvel. Then go ahead, run with Outerversal, Showa, and Heisei Godzilla. But one Godzilla who is definitely involved in this discussion, according to Death Battle themselves in their Death Battle cast, is Godzilla Ultima, specifically the incarnation from the novelization. But this just in, recent news. The anime and the novel are actually one and the same. They are the same being. The writer of both has confirmed that they are meant to complement one another, the anime showing more of the stuff in visual form, whereas the novel details more of the sci-fi, which obviously the show's limited run wouldn't allow it to do. Now, there are two ways to interpret Godzilla Ultima with this knowledge. We have Godzilla Ultima having infinite dimensions, timelines, and worlds that he's destroyed over some period. He also is mentioned to be above such worlds, such that attacking him from inside of creation is like being a character in a movie and attacking the outside. But obviously against the Incredible Hulk, that's not going to be too useful. Then there is the other interpretation, the one that Versus Battle Wiki and most likely Death Battle are going to use, that these worlds transcend one another in a higher cosmology, which means that rather than 4, 5, 6 dimensional, Ultima would be infinite, and not just infinite, infinite to no end, as in they keep heading up higher realms, higher cosmology. This would be the battle tier known as High Hyperversal, which is commonly used for stuff like, say, the Marvel Multiverse, for example. Now, that's not to say Ultima by default solos Marvel or anything, but he would be most likely comparable to, at the very least, its multiverse in this interpretation. And if you take the higher realm than creation statement at face value, you'd be even higher than that. Some on certain Reddits and stuff have argued for an even higher level of power, but this is where I believe Ultima would cap out, as he is still bound to the concepts of space and time, so him being an outerversal being seems a little odd. There are those who argue that outerversal characters can still be bound to time, so you can perhaps try to squeeze Ultima into the club, but I don't like doing that. So I think it'd be kinda hypocritical to say DC, where there is hypertime, a flow of time above the God sphere, which is often claimed to be outerversal, beyond the concepts of time and space. Yet there is a form of time above that. He has outer stuff bound to time, but Ultima, who has honestly better arguments for it, isn't. Ultima also brings a lot of interesting powers, like the ability to deny causality itself. Causality is of course cause and effect, so say you try to hit Ultima. No, you didn't. This never happened. And it becomes so. He even does it to beings from his own realm, showing that it doesn't just work on lower beings, but even those with similar levels of power. Cannot be analyzed by technology, denies fate itself, is a living singularity, so if you can't destroy a singularity, you can't kill him. Is, again, a higher dimensional being, so any damage to its avatars does really nothing to him on the outside. With it even being confirmed that even at the end of Singular Point he would come back, and in the intro that he's done this over and over and over again. So Ultima brings some nice tricks to the party and some decent stats, at least with the high end. But is this enough to take down the Incredible Hulk? I'll hand the mic over to a Hulk expert to talk about the strength of the Green Goliath.
Hulk himself very rarely has produced crazy blatant feats in his 60 years of publication history, and more so tends to scale to such showings via being able to fight and even beat the ones that can destroy crazy cosmological structures and whatnot. Arguably, the one that stands out the most has to be when he was fighting Darkcrawler and ended up accidentally destroying a whole universe that was adjacent to the dimension of the Nameless Ones, beings that could fight classic Doctor Strange. He also threatened infinite universes after the shockwaves from clashing with Ironclad whilst in the crossroads of dimensions. Like mentioned earlier, Hulk is more so someone who beats on those known for carrying out crazier feats. A perfect example is how Hulk was able to destroy the armour of Onslaught, who was at his strongest at the time and had actually absorbed Franklin Richards and Nate Gray into his being to try and claim their powers. The most notable matchup though has to be Hulk vs Thor. These two have been at each other's throats for as long as they've been published, and other than that, a couple of instances, they've always scaled to each other. And Thor, when he was just a baby, actually shook the entirety of the World Tree, which stretches throughout all of existence.
And to point out why this is impressive, I turn the mic to everybody's favorite competitive Genshin furry player, Viper.
Thank you to our favorite maid lover on the channel for inviting me to talk about Godzilla, and specifically the more nitty-gritty of the scaling implications Godzilla gets from the Marvel comics, specifically the Marvel cosmology and the hacks and resistances he would gain. Due to Godzilla not only fighting the amped up immortal Thor, being compared to Galactus and so on, this would mean he would scale to the wider cosmology. Either it be Thor trading hands with Null, someone who has several statements of destroying the cosmology, and is even compared to Toba, somewhat adding consistency for this line of logic, or the fact he should scale to Chaos King off of an amped up Hercules, a character who successfully wiped out over 98% of the multiverse in his rampage, and Thor has his own showings and statements of scaling to said cosmology. I won't be going over the full cosmology, as I don't want this section of the video to take up this whole video, as I could be here for over an hour explaining the entire cosmology. And especially since the fact that Thor doesn't scale to nearly all of the cosmologies, such as things like the One Above All's realm and the House of Ideas, we're just going to cap it at quite a simpler level that a lot of you may be able to understand. Even with just the universes, they're flat out higher dimensional that infinitely supersede the previous dimension exists within Marvel cosmology, even up to the 12th dimension, with several lower dimensions being referenced to exist within these universes as well, with even infinite dimensional structures and dimensions existing too, making the universe a high hyperversal construct. Then we have the fact these multiverses containing infinite of these universes, and then an omniverse containing infinite of these multiverses, with the superflow being above the omniverse, and there being structures outside of the superflow as well. Then this goes to the abstract, characters like eternity, death, and so on. The physical manifestation of their respective concepts not only exist in a flat-out higher plane of existence than the cosmology that we just mentioned, but especially eternity sees this cosmology as only a figment of him, as eternity is the concept of reality and existence itself. Anything that can and will exist is just a speck of him. In layman's terms, flat out outerversal, a couple layers into outerversal, or even high outerversal. But as I said before, I'll just leave it here, just to save time, and since generally these characters are outer to high outer in general, so capping him at this level based off this line of scaling is perfectly fine. Now let's go over his hacks. These are based on a couple of things. Him working Celestials, him merging with the Necrosword, and resisting Wanda's hexes. Let's go over to the Celestials first. Celestials are casual beings that existed before the idea of time itself, being abstract physical embodiments of the respective concepts. These guys are beyond the power of the Soul Stone and even tank blast from the Ultimate Nullifier, something that utterly erases you from existence. Yet Godzilla murked him, so being a casual, abstract, conceptual, resisting soul hacks and erasure doesn't matter to Godzilla whatsoever. Next, the Necrosword, a sword that allows you to kill the aforementioned Celestials and other gods. It can cut through slow down time, and attack you on a biological scale. Since he bonded with the Necrosword itself, he gets all of this. And the Wanda stuff is by far the most insane, since he's just flat out immune to Wanda's hex magic. A pretty current Wanda at that. He should not only get the resistance of all of Wanda's hacks, but most magic hacks in general within Marvel, as magic is a universal system in Marvel that is interconnected with one another, existing as one of the fundamental concepts of the universe and existing as a fundamental concept. And high tier magic users like Wanda, for example, upskill off of the lower tier magic user spells and what they can do with this magic, considering Wanda is commonly portrayed as one of the strongest magic users alongside Doctor Strange and such. She should get all of this, especially with what she's shown herself. To give you an idea, I'll list out some of her higher tier magic hacks that she would gain and therefore Godzilla would just resist. Reality warping, probability manipulation, even passively space and time manipulation, mind hacks, seeing into the future, gravity manipulation, power nullification, biological manipulation, law manipulation, some forms of erasure, BFR, death manipulation, matter manipulation, casualty manipulation, conceptual manipulation, even on an abstract level. Life manipulation, physics manipulation, soul manipulation, and many more. Marvel Godzilla is so strong just from a couple issues that he pretty much has resistances to every hacks in that book. And Godzilla tanking these attacks and spells from this high tier magic user is just a lot of resistance. That's it for me. Thanks for having me on. Back to King of the Monsters.
Due to being extremely popular, Godzilla has many crossovers over his multi-decade long history. Not all crossovers result in exponentially higher power, but some have pretty notable showings. From Super Robot Wars demonstrating a Godzilla who beats the absolute dog shit out of multiversal Evangelion units even when they get 6,000 times more powerful, and teaming up with them to jump the anti-spiral of all things, to DC Comics showing a variant of Monsterverse Godzilla one-shot as Superman, mentioned to be at least kind of relative to the mainline version. There's also that game for Glue Eaters where MV Godzilla was depicted as a very powerful boss, but neither here nor there. It's kinda hard to ignore the fact Godzilla's in Marvel already. In his 1970s run, Godzilla was pretty much the most powerful being on the planet, already easily defeating Hulk with a single step, overwhelming Hercules and matching the full power of Thor, even when using a tenth of his true power, and, in a time when his life was actually in danger, he was able to draw out even more reserves of power. But most interestingly, Marvel has a second run of the Monster King already in motion, and it has actually been confirmed that this is in fact the same Godzilla as the original run, where the current writer of Godzilla destroys the Marvel Universe. Despite contradictions, which, to be honest, it's comics, there's a lot of those, they're meant to be all one and the same being. So this means Godzilla has also had temporary power-ups like Hulk's blood, the power cosmic, symbiote biology, while mentally fighting with Null, and, most notably, a piece of the Necrosword, which allowed a different variant of this Godzilla to fight on par with and kill All-Father Thor. Since Godzilla Destroys the Marvel Universe is currently ongoing and has a few weird things in it, I think I'll take the average instead of having the pretty nonsensical weakness. So in this recent comic, Godzilla ripped the head off a Celestial, is confirmed to be the strongest thing that's ever pushed against Susan Storm's force fields, is immune to Scarlet Witch's magic, one-shot Thor so hard into space that the god rage quit like a baby, and is confirmed in the synopsis to be heading to the Dark Dimension 2. It is also implied that he fought Galactus, no-diff the X-Men all at the same time, combining their powers, smacked up Fin Fang Foom with absolute ease, far outclasses Surtur in terms of power, and has faced the Avengers multiple times. So already we can cement that, bare minimum, God Butcher and Godzilla would be, at the very least, in those high Marvel tiers already. And if Destroys the Marvel Universe is anything to go off, we have an impressive Godzilla who's going to annihilate many of your favorite superheroes. Along with possessing overwhelming attack power and durability, Godzilla has a gargantuan, enormous list of abilities that will be used against the Incredible Hulk, from arguably superior radiation manipulation, multiple forms of, layered, and high levels of immortality, regeneration, resurrection, and other things that keep him from dying. It seems nearly impossible to actually wipe him out completely. Not only do you have to completely destroy him entirely, you also have to wipe him from history, his concept, his narrative, his many forms of immortality, regeneration, ties to high-level beings, realms, ideas, and of course, radiation itself. On top of this, he boasts a large amount of attacking abilities too. I could have started all over again with what Godzilla could do offensively, but I already did a bunch for Heisei vs. Doomslayer, Composite Godzilla, and Godzilla in Hell. So I'm just going to play a segment from one of those, because I already worked pretty hard on that. If you want more details, go check those out. While not completely invincible, his durability is astounding, and his regeneration even more so. Even a single Godzilla cell can bring back an entire body in relatively quick spans of time, even more so when energy is in question, enhancing and even speeding up his regeneration even further. And in fact, Godzilla's cells have even survived being completely incinerated in the form of Biollante, who fused with plant cells, arguably making her immortality and regeneration worse than that of the original. Godzilla is renowned for his energy absorption, but more impressively might be his adaptability. While his biology was already fine-tuned to be able to absorb radiation, and in fact only got better at it over time, other energy sources he's learned to be able to tolerate and absorb, including Orochi's magic, which it stated that his G-cells could actually reactively evolve to. That same magic being able to cast spells of darkness, completely corrupt the soul and spirit and mind, bend reality, destroy a barrier of time and space, similar to a certain fraud's. He adapted to Mothra's magical seals that also affect you on a biological level to shut your body down completely. Yeah, that didn't work on him. He constantly is hit by, and in fact tanks King Ghidorah's gravity, matter, and physics destroying gravity beams. He's even learned to absorb energy from pure heat itself, be it boiling water from a meteor strike, or even just magma from under the Earth's crust. Godzilla also has his more abstract powers, being able to permanently kill monsters that are stated to be embodiments of human fears, especially King Ghidorah, who can arrive in a dimension by simply one person believing in their existence. He would also, again, belt whip the likes of Orochi, who is an embodiment of evil itself. Utsuno the God Warrior, someone infinitely close to universe-creating deities, including embodiments of the sun, the moon, and other bodies of the universe, couldn't really do anything to him. Batra is stated to be a pure energy being created by the Earth itself. Not only could Godzilla manhandle him, but even kill him permanently. It is also consistently stated that kaiju are able to manipulate their own spirits, absorb souls, and in fact, Godzilla states that such things are completely worthless in his eyes. Spiritual energy is nothing to him. He is also the living embodiment of radiation, especially in the nuclear bomb form. To the point that even trying to erase him from history doesn't work. He will continue to come back bigger and stronger every single time. That also means he's not bound to fate, time, or destiny. And it is mentioned that the only thing that was able to kill him was ultimately himself, once his own power got too out of hand too quickly. This same abstract existence also explains why he's also able to get stronger from stuff like human hatred. Yeah, Godzilla just gets stronger the angrier humans are. Most impressively, arguably, is the fact that he can also negate all of his own levels of immortality and regeneration, as shown by him killing Biollante like twice, and eventually putting Space Godzilla down. Yeah, he was weakened a little bit by having his crystals destroyed, but A, he gets infinite power-ups, so I don't think dividing him by 2 is all that much. And B, he completely obliterated him, burning Godzilla as an even more powerful fusion, and allowed him to go toe-to-toe with Destroyer, who has A, infinite growth, B, infinite adaptation, C, absorb Godzilla's own DNA, and C, even when Godzilla was starting to melt down, upon drawing more power from his own core essence, he was able to actually defeat Destroyer officially, to the point that the beast was barely able to hold himself together by the time the military shot him down. Destroyer is also, by the way, stayed able to destroy fate and time itself, so, you know, that's fun. Godzilla's immortality is also pretty impressive, as, again, it's mentioned that as long as radiation exists, he can never die. And like those other monsters, he also exists as a manifestation of human fears, radiation, and nuclear weaponry. He can send you across dimensions, bypass your durability, negate your ability to regenerate, seal you into other realms, erase your existence, destroy your immortality, absorb your very life force itself, destroy your soul, and many, many, many more. If I listed every single power Godzilla's had over 70 years of media, we would be here all day, night, week, month, and year. It's also worth noting that a lot of these probably wouldn't affect the Hulk too much. He's faced dimension hoppers, energy absorbers, energy blasters, etc. But I think the fact that Godzilla has similar, if not higher levels of power, and all of the above, plus essentially everything Hulk got and more, I think it's nearly impossible for Hulk to actually win this fight. You can maybe argue that things like the Green Door can keep Hulk respawning. He has no way to actually kill Godzilla permanently. Godzilla does have means of putting Hulk down, and while it would be difficult, I think he can get the job done. With Ultima in the mix, he can possibly stop Hulk from respawning directly, interfering with the causality of that event. And with the more powerful Godzillas added into the mix, he very likely can reach the realm of the one below all, and with his most powerful iterations, even that might not be enough to stop Godzilla in a straight-on fight. Godzilla's killed things that have this same sort of reliant immortality, a place that respawns them, energies that bring them back, outside forces that return them to life, things that can regenerate from absolutely nothing, from the soul, from a single cell. While the list of singular Godzilla incarnations that can actually bring the Hulk down are very few, and I think it's really only Godzilla in Hell, I think at the end of the day, only one nuclear nightmare remains. And being erased by Godzilla might bring Bruce Banner some true peace, no longer having to be haunted by the ghost of his father, by the Devil Hulk, the one below all, or any more pain. A final blast, and it would be over. A mercy that even Godzilla himself might want. To Hulk's credit, he is one of the most formidable beings that Godzilla can face. And it's not his fault that Godzilla has just so many crossovers, feats, forms, powers, and just won't die. The winner is Godzilla, King of the Monsters. A huge shout out to the Chad Champ and Viper for their great Marvel knowledge and assistance, the Pigeon Returns Studios for the great animation for the Monsters Duel. Thank you everyone for watching. Let's hope Death Battle doesn't mess up too bad, and I'll see you in the next video. See you later.
Godzilla 90s versus the Incredible Hulk Monsters Fight! Such needless destruction. It makes me angry! Hulk smash, beauty monster! Frogface! It's you! Hulk remember you! Hulk kill you! Green say Hulk. Hulk not just strongest. Hulk is immortal. Hulk smash! Angry lizard hurt Hulk. Hulk rip off angry lizard's head. You smash city good, but Hulk smash worlds! Hulk's the devil! Impressive. Give me everything you got! I won't let you win this time!
Up and away!
I get stronger! KO!
As for who I think will win the death battle, probably Hulk. Couple of reasons. One, he's a Marvel character. Death Battle loves them Marvel and DC characters. It also doesn't help that they've been on a bit of a losing streak, and Hulk is technically 0 for 2 right now. Worse, they're repping the hell out of Ultima, who is weak as shit compared to a number of other Godzilla versions. No, don't get me wrong. At the high-end interpretation, he's pretty strong. High hyperversal or above, nothing really to sneeze at. Hulk is at least outer versal at his peaks. They have been giving wins to Haxi characters, and Ultima has plenty of those, but unless they give him some way to actually destroy Hulk or the Green Door, Ultima's not winning that fight. Now, between the two at their peaks, the real winner would be